Tell us about the Sam Houston, which is a statue behind us.
Yeah, he was a general. He, let's see, owned slaves in Houston. He was actually, he was not a really good guy, but just for the foundation of Houston, you know, it was named after him. You know, he was one of the main people that wanted to keep slavery going, and one of the generals that migrated out of Mexico that reestablished slavery in this area called Texas.
Wow. Yeah. You know, I also heard you speaking about how Texas was the last state to release the slaves. Can you go a little bit into that?
Yeah, that's what Juneteenth was about. Juneteenth was when they finally decided to let the slaves go. I mean, they had Emancipation Proclamation and everything, and let them go. They were supposed to let them go, but Texas really wanted to become their own country. And so Texas was one of the, you know, the South was going to, if they would have won, the South would have been its own country. And Texas was going to be the first ones to implement that own country because they wanted to keep slavery going. You know, and I remember the second president of Mexico, Vicente Guerrero, was one of the ones that was pushing a lot of those slave owners out, saying, okay, you're not going to have it here, you better go somewhere else with that. And Sam Houston was one of the main lobbyists, especially the high school I went to, Nuwaupu, the Indian killer and the slave owner. Both of them was very big on that. They both wanted that space, as well as Robert E. Lee.
Wow, so it seems like there's a lot of history. Because what do you think people just know? Because I never heard of Sam Houston.
Yes.
I didn't know he was a general. Being from Massachusetts, I know about Robert E. Lee from the movie Glory. Yeah. There's a monument for Robert E. Lee in one of, it's called the park. It's called Boston Commons. Yeah. So it's a big deal because of the soldiers that came from the north.
Right.
So, but do you think people know Sam Houston for his involvement in slavery?
No, most, you know, especially blacks are not going to know too much of that history. They know maybe a portion of, they'll know, well, this is who it's named after.
Right.
But in terms of him owning slaves and wanting to keep it going and not wanting to let it go, a lot of them, you know, blacks, they'll probably know but don't really want to accept that fact about them.
Right.
You know, they like to block certain negatives out. So I think that if they do that, then they wouldn't be so proud to say that he's doing this. Abraham Lincoln, yeah, I realize Abraham Lincoln never really wanted to free slaves. So you having people, remember, the South was making a lot of money. Slavery made a lot of money for the South. So you had the Sam Houstons, Robert E. Lees, the Marlboro B, the Mars, most of the presidents that was there, probably all of them, all the way up to Abraham Lincoln owned slaves. So you're dealing with a lot of people that were very rich that wanted to keep this business going. And the biggest thing that, especially here in the South, especially this territory that we know now as Texas, they wanted to keep that going. You gotta realize 99% of whites prior to 1865, they wanted to keep slavery going. Most of it was a 1% of abolitionists that were like, we gotta let that go. You know, we trying to keep this Christian. We gotta be right about this. 99% wanted to keep that business going. They wanted to keep it going. He never wanted. The only reason why he wanted to end it was because they were trying to boost. They were trying to balance the economy within that whole land that we know now as North America.
Wow.
I mean, that's the funny thing. Yeah, we're in a sovereign country. This is around the time when he pretty much established it. Pretty much established Texas as own republic of Texas, pretty much a country within itself, to continue, as I said before, the business of slavery.
Okay, because as we're reading the plaque, and it's a plaque that's dedicated to in honor of in honor of General Sam Houston. And if you go down the list, a couple of things that stood out was when they said from 1809 to 1812 lived with Cherokee Indians in Virginia. Now, I have a question about that. But
that wasn't what we really going down.
Right, but we were looking, if you go down here between 1836 and 1841, elected and served as president of the Republic of Texas. Now that tells me that confirms that Texas between that time period was its own sovereign state.
Yeah. The only reason why they were forced to become a part of the United States was they lost, of course, the South lost the Civil War. So
Right.
they had to join in with the rest of the United States. That's the biggest thing. That's why if you look at this time period, February 6 to 1841, that's in between the time period that most of the slaveholders were pushed out of Mexico and into Texas. So once they said, well, look, we're going to turn this land into our own sovereign area, sovereign country of Texas.
Okay.
So they got to have that mindset that if the South would have won, this would be a country. Certain territories in the country, whatever was going on to the South, especially Texas, would be still making millions and millions of dollars off of black people in slavery.
Wow.
This funny thing about Texas, Houston in particular, they always downplayed the segregation that was here. Notice they only go into Mississippi, the Alabama, Louisiana. That's it. They don't go into Texas was just as worse than almost as worse as Mississippi. It's a documentary out about that African American history teacher put out that shows that segregation here is horrible. What they do is they erase that part.
So what do you think the thing was, because the plaque reads here also between 1809 and 1812. Now that reminds me of the War of 1812, but it says lived with Cherokee Indians in Virginia. What do you think that was about, and what was going on during that time period?
I think him and as well as Marble B. Lamar, a lot of them they may have lived with them, but it wasn't on a positive situation because both of them was able to conquer those people in that area, so they were able to basically live amongst them, but at some point turn on them as we go even further into the holiday days. It's the same situation. Europeans moved in with the Native American area of blacks, and they decided to take over the whole situation. That's why when they say live with, that's half the truth.
Right. Do you think, at some point maybe they were using them against other Native American tribes, perhaps? Because you're dealing with the Cherokee. I don't know, I think in history it says something how the Cherokee were going against certain tribes, at one point in history. Can you expound on that?
One of the biggest things, if you notice, was the black Seminoles scared Europeans to death because they were able to get Europeans to submit to them and to bargain with them to the table to free slaves. So, of course, the biggest thing if you're trying to conquer people, you want to try to get a rival within that group, within that nation, within the Native American nation. So, what better way to do that is to get Cherokee Indian nation to go against the rest. And to try to find a means to have them be under Europe. To try to go against other Native American nations, tribes. So I can very well see that. Because the thing is, that's what a lot of generals were known for. Divide up the individuals, divide up the people, and then use them against the rest of them. The same thing that goes on in Africa. You see the same situation. Go in Africa, divide the people up, and use them and create this fictitious world that they created amongst tribal people. Yeah, I can see that. Okay, well, how do you think the Civil War was won? Because at one point the South was winning. They said a lot of the slaves turned on the South. The slaves that the South had working, like fighting for them, turned against them. Because remember, a lot of wars are won. Wars like that were won due to how many territories you claim and win. And the South was claiming a lot of territories. So a lot of the slaves that were working for them, what they don't tell you is they turned on the slave masters that they had working for them, and it ended up crippling the war. And the North ended up winning almost by default. because they really, you know, you gotta look at it like this. The South was richer than the North, so they naturally had more people.
What's up,
More people, more guns, more sophisticated weaponry. They were winning. You know, it's crazy. That's how people look. You know, they just think that mighty. They live by default. Time for days, man. Like, exactly where would blacks be right now if we would have lost? They would still be in a bad situation, in a systematic war crime situation, which is kidnapping, bondage. So us walking this right now, this is slave territory. Everywhere you go, like it's downtown Houston, this is part of downtown Houston, we're near the aquarium. Historically is where they used to, like you see the Django, they walk the slaves. You know, that's crazy.